At 9:12 a.m., my wife's scream punched through the phone like a live wire. "Jack, they broke my arm!" Then static, a thud, dead air. The sound sliced me clean back to my federal days, when a call like that meant you had seconds to solve a lifetime of problems. Two white men in fake uniforms had just stormed my porch in Meadowbrook Estates, calling themselves HOA compliance police, demanding cash for violations that don't exist. Waving counterfeit badges and tossing around "you people" like punctuation. They made two fatal mistakes. They laid hands on my wife, and they picked the wrong black family to terrorize. The next 5 minutes would end with those men face down in the dirt, cuffs biting their wrists, and a conspiracy peeled open like old paint. Rewind 48 hours. Anna, my wife, an RN with hands steady enough to thread an IV in a hurricane, held up her tablet at our kitchen island. "Urgent compliance audit," the email read. Stamped 3:47 a.m. The signature said, "Diane Foster, HOA admin." The letterhead looked right until it didn't. Mismatched fonts. A 916 area code that wasn't ours. Statutes that don't exist anywhere but a Facebook meme. My federal cyber muscle memory ticked. I popped headers, followed the trail. Free webmail spun up yesterday. A domain behind a $5 privacy proxy. PDF metadata screaming home printer, not a municipal doc system. Anna, who documents everything like a charge nurse walking into a messy handoff, called the real HOA office from our welcome packet. "We have no Diane," the receptionist whispered. "And the president, Linda Morrison, is on a special project." Her voice had the tremor of someone who knows a storm is forming and doesn't want to be the lightning rod. By lunch, our door camera caught a white pickup rolling slow. Magnetic signs slapped on the doors. HOA Enforcement Division. Two white men in pressed Navy utility uniforms stepped out. Store-bought belts. Hobby shop patches. Clipboards with two clean edges. One took photos from every angle like he was casing the place. The other measured the fence with a cheap tape and wrote with his chest puffed, the way bullies write when they're not sure they can spell. I watched them from my office monitor, every off-note stacking into a chord I knew by heart. Performative authority, counterfeit calm, the tail wagging faster than the dog. They returned at dusk. I met them on the lawn, palms open, voice level. "Authorization, names, policy citations, now." The tall one clicked on a tone meant to make middle managers fold. "Tony Brennan. We're here on a 48-hour emergency audit." His buddy, Marcus, skinny, jumpy, read off a list. Perimeter exceeding code, non-conforming mailbox style, prohibited work vehicle, Anna's hatchback apparently, unapproved ethnographic decor on the porch. That last phrase hung like smog. "Define ethnographic," I said, though I already knew. Marcus's eyes flicked to our hand-carved Ashanti mask, Anna's mother's gift. "Some residents feel it's not in keeping with neighborhood character." He didn't say black. He didn't have to. Racism in a polo comes buttoned up tight. "You people, neighborhood character, property values." When they don't have the courage to use slurs, they weaponize covenants. I let them talk themselves into a corner while Anna filmed, phone at her waist, nurse calm on her face. I flipped their packet. The notice date predated the first email. The fines escalated in neat round numbers like a cheap ransom note. The appeal board address pointed to a P.O. box inside a shipping store that also rents tuxedos. I asked which bylaw section they were citing. Tony's jaw ticked. "Sir, if you cooperate, initial here, we can keep this out of formal proceedings." Translation, pay the fake tax. Swallow the humiliation. Let the scam roll on to the next neighbor who's too elderly, too busy, too brown to fight. "No," I said. "You'll hear from counsel." They left with the swagger of men who confuse retreat with strategy. That night, Anna and I mapped what we had, spoofed emails. Fake docs, people with access to real HOA records. They knew her shifts, my work windows, our permit history, and a president on a special project. Anna found meeting minutes buried in old PDF scans. 3 weeks ago. Special compliance review requested. Mitchell property. Requested by Linda Morrison, HOA president. Grounds, community standards, and property values. No resident complaints logged. In my experience, property values often means make them fit or make them leave. Next morning, I headed downtown for a client risk review. At 9:12 a.m., my phone detonated in my hand. Anna, breathless, whisper shouting. "They're back, Jack. Linda's with them. They're saying I have to sign now. Don't touch me." Explosion of voices. A scuffle. A sharp cry I will hear when I'm 80. Phone skittering across concrete. Silence. My keys were moving before my legs caught up. 911 in one hand, steering wheel in the other. I hit the neighborhood in 4 minutes flat, clipped to the curb like a pit stop. Anna was on the steps, cradling her left arm, face chalk white under brown skin, lips trembling the way they do when your body knows bad news before your brain catches up. The arm sat wrong. Both bone forearm fracture. I could see the ulna trying to make a second elbow. The white pickup idled crooked at the curb. 2 uniforms fumbled equipment into the bed. A third figure in sunglasses and a crisp linen blouse barked orders from the driver's seat, Linda. She had the brittle confidence of someone who's been obeyed too long. "They shoved me," Anna said, jaw clenched, sweat beading her hairline. "I tried to call you." Tony grabbed the phone. I pulled back. My foot slipped on the top step. I swallowed rage like dry glass. "Ambulance is coming," I told her. Our neighbor, Mrs. Williams, leaned over the rail, cell up. They went toward Miller. "Construction site," she said. Her voice had the flinty edge of someone who's seen men like this work in the shadows. I followed the pickup's dust to the half-built cul-de-sac where the developer had paused for permits. They'd parked behind a mound of filled dirt, plates halfway off, tools out. Linda stood with arms folded, arguing in stage whispers that bled arrogance. "I said scare them, not hospitalize them," she hissed. Tony shrugged. "She fought us, Linda." Marcus scanned the street like a rabbit who knows the hawk is overhead. I blocked the only exit with my SUV. Stepped out slow. Hands visible, voice low. "Federal training doesn't leave you. It just sleeps." "You broke my wife's arm," I said to the air, not gift-wrapping the target. "We can end this 3 ways. You drop the tools, lie down, wait for the sheriff. You run, and I promise you'll trip. Or you swing, and you won't like how that goes." Tony chose door 3. He grabbed a lug wrench and charged. I slid 30 degrees off his line, let his weight carry him, hooked his wrist, rotated the joint, stepped through, and borrowed his balance. He sailed into the dirt pile and discovered what gravity thinks of fake badges. Marcus lunged with pure adrenaline, feet forgetful on pea gravel. He slipped, kissed mud, and found his reflection in a puddle of last night's rain. Linda tried to sprint in heels, rookie choice, caught a length of rebar, pitched forward, face first into talc-dry dust. 3 bodies, 1 chorus of groans. Sirens in the distance, the Doppler of consequence arriving. I didn't touch them again. I pulled my phone slow, called dispatch, identified myself, gave location injuries, summary. "Make sure EMS knows there's a broken forearm at my residence," I said. "Black female, 32, conscious, stable, deformity midshaft." The site cameras blinked red above the construction office trailer. They'd caught everything. Good. I prefer trials to fights. Patrol cruisers rolled in first, then EMS, then a county detective whose eyes said she reads reports like novels. Detective Rivera separated stories the way you separate wires on a live panel. Linda tried to play the part, sunglasses off, hair shaken, community voice activated. "This is a misunderstanding," she said. "We contracted a firm other HOAs use. They assured us," Rivera raised one finger, "the universal sign for, please stop talking and let your lawyer save what's left." Tony and Marcus wore the 1,000-yard stare of men who just realized impersonating an officer is not a YouTube prank but an orange jumpsuit problem. Back at the house, Anna rolled past us on a gurney, IV taped down, pain finally finding her edges. She still asked the EMT if he wanted a quick set of vitals on me. Nurses don't know how to stop helping. At the hospital, the orthopedic team confirmed what my eyes already knew. Both bone fracture, displaced. Surgery now. Then the kicker, nerve compression. Potential permanent deficit. The words fine motor control hit like a hammer. Try inserting IVs when your thumb wakes up late and your index finger hums. Try charting when your hand forgets a letter. Rage slid to fear, then hardened to purpose. Rivera came with receipts. Linda claims she hired these men for routine checks, she said, already drumming her pen because she knew what was next. But we pulled her phone. 47 calls and texts to a shell consulting number over 6 months. Explicit direction, which homes to hit, what hours to pounce, how to push the urgency. Screenshots. Make the Mitchells pay for stealing my contract, sent 3 weeks ago, followed by a bullet list of our schedules. I felt my jaw hinge. So that was the special project. The motive unfolded like bad origami. 6 months earlier, Linda had pitched the business district a security assessment. My firm won that bid, on credentials and price, not politics. She took it personally. Her consulting side hustle had bled red ink for years. HOA president was the only room left where people had to return her calls. She weaponized it. She raided resident files, built surveillance timelines, pulled social media, targeted the vulnerable, elderly, single parents, Black and brown families with less patience for police, notices that arrived at inconvenient times by design. She paid Tony and Marcus $500 cash a pop from her compliance services slush, camouflaged as community improvements, and she added something extra for us. The unapproved ethnographic decor. The work vehicle, a federal task force Jeep I keep stored off-site during active deployments, not even at our address. The tone, the you people. Racism in paperwork is still racism. It just uses a stapler. While Anna learned to hold a cup with her left hand and breathe through nerve pain, the neighborhood split like a log. Half the block wanted harmony. Notes slid under our door. Maybe you overreacted. Veterans sometimes need counseling. Property values matter to everyone. Elm branch bigotry. Polite. Shaded, just enough light filtered to grow mold. I almost believed them, until Mrs. Patterson, 83, cane clicking like a metronome, knocked our door mid-afternoon. I paid her $3,000 for a mailbox, she said, voice steady, eyes glass bright. My mailbox hasn't moved in 40 years. I skipped groceries. She held up the violation, the same fonts, the same fake codes. Her whisper turned to steel. I didn't want to bother anyone. I'm bothering you now. The dam broke. Jennifer Collins, single mom, 2 jobs, brought a folder of door hangers timed for nights she worked a double. The Thompsons, Army family, showed fines for flag etiquette violations that don't exist outside Facebook arguments. Mr. Osei had non-conforming cultural art highlighted in yellow, a photo of his Kenta cloth bench circled like a crime scene. Every story had the same bones, deliberate timing, fabricated codes, thinly veiled bias, cash on demand. The map on my office wall bloomed with pins and string. Yellow for elders, blue for single parents, red for military families, black for ethnographic decor. The cluster around Linda's street looked like a measles outbreak. I went to work. Federal habits: collect, correlate, corroborate. Social posts, deleted, now recovered, showed Linda's entitlement ripening into resentment, outsiders taking contracts, neighborhood character slipping, standards, bank withdrawals lined up with harassment calls within hours. The shell consulting invoices matched the plate numbers on Tony's truck. The construction site cameras gave us a 3-minute sizzle reel. The faceplants, the wrench, the rebar ballet. Rivera's team landed search warrants. Linda's home office wall was a stalker's corkboard. Our schedules. Anna's shifts. Red-circled best windows. Printouts of our porch from 5 angles. A sticky note. Mask. Push character. Her laptop told the rest. Template violation letters. P.O. box rental. A spreadsheet titled Collections. She still showed up to the emergency HOA meeting with a lawyer and a blowout. Chin lifted like a debutante at arraignment. The community center filled beyond code. My slideshow began with fonts and timestamps, moved through bank logs and metadata, then hit audio. Linda's own voice coaching. Tony to press the urgency, to lean on the mailbox, to remind them of property values. A murmur ran through the room, the way wind runs through wheat. Mrs. Patterson took the mic, hands shaking. "Voice not. I skipped food," she said. Jennifer described being told child services might take a look if she didn't stabilize her situation. Thompson's read the federal statute protecting flag displays while veterans in the back nodded slow. Anna rolled up in her sling, said ulna, radius, neuropraxia, and the room had to sit with the fact that paperwork can break bones if you throw it hard enough. Linda couldn't help herself. "I served this community 2 years," she said, still auditioning for the role of martyr. "I was maintaining standards." She swung an arm too wide, knocked an easel, spilled photographs of the very people she targeted at her feet. The sound of glossy print skittering across linoleum might be the cleanest metaphor for fallen power I've ever heard. Her lawyer tried to reel her in. The room had moved on. Unanimous recall, emergency bylaw reforms, transparent finances, 30-day notice requirements, independent appeals, zero tolerance for harassment, and a specific clause outlawing discrimination cloaked as character. We voted a victim relief fund from reserves. They voted me in as interim president. I didn't want the job, but I wanted the job done right. 6 weeks later, county court. Orange jumpsuit replaces linen. Tony and Marcus in county blue, hands folded, faces pale. Rivera laid out the case clean. Fraud, impersonation, conspiracy, elder abuse, assault by proxy. The state showed the texts, the bank trails, the audio. Defense tried financial desperation and gambling problem. The jury saw intent with receipts. Mrs. Patterson's impact statement put a human weight on every count. Anna testified, describing pain that makes her hand forget its job, then looking at the jury and explaining what it means when a nurse can't trust her fingers. The room went quiet, in the way rooms do when everyone remembers a time a nurse kept them alive. Verdicts rolled like thunder. Sentences landed with math and mercy in proportion. Linda, time in state custody, probation tail, restitution that will take her a decade to dig out of. Tony and Marcus, jail plus community service, barred from any licensed security work, no contact orders permanently in place. That wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Insurance cut checks late, but they cut them. Civil judgments covered Anna's therapy, Mrs. Patterson's grocery money, plus trebles. The HOA scrubbed its books, installed audits, killed the slush. We tore out Linda's ornamental hedges and planted a community garden in the empty lot where her standards used to live. Tomatoes don't care about your covenants. They rise just the same. Anna clawed back 90% function over 6 brutal months, stubborn as sunrise. She went back to work with a new lane, building the Anna Mitchell protocol for assault victims. How you treat the body and the mind. How you spot coercion written as policy. Regional adopted it system-wide. My firm helped 3 other HOAs harden against grifters in polos and consultants with clipboards. Meadowbrook now live streams every meeting. Financials are online. Appeals are external. Character means kindness, not conformity. 1 year after the call that split us open, we threw a block party under strings of lights across the cul-de-sac. Kids chalked the sidewalk with flags and Adinkra symbols. No one fined a soul. Veterans flipped burgers. Mrs. Patterson cut a ribbon with a pair of comically big scissors and laughed until she cried. Anna spiked a volleyball one-handed and grinned like a thief who got away with joy. I took down the caseboard in my garage and hung a photo of that night where the evidence had been. Proof that communities can heal if you stop giving your power to the loudest. Fakest badge. Here's what I want you to take with you if you live under an HOA or any petty throne. Document everything. Verify every policy in the actual bylaws. Demand notice and appeal rights. Never sign on the porch. If someone shows up in a uniform, ask which statute authorizes that patch. If they can't answer, film and call it in. Racism doesn't always snarl. Sometimes it smiles and points to character. Learn to hear it. Organize your neighbors. Predators feed on silence. Drop where you're watching from in the comments and tell me your HOA horror story. We're building a database that shuts these rackets down nationwide. If you felt that moment when the fakes hit the dirt, hit like. If you believe elders shouldn't have to choose between groceries and fake fines, share this. If you like this story, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more HOA tales and real-life neighborhood drama each week.